The Cleveland Browns are about to make a decision that will either ignite a new era of dominance or haunt this franchise for the next decade, and the NFL world is absolutely losing its mind over the conflicting reports coming out of Berea. We are talking about a total evaluation meltdown where top-tier analysts cannot even agree if the Browns' primary target is a top-3 lock or a mid-round bust. The smokescreens are thick, the stakes are astronomical, and the future of the North hangs in the balance. Before we dive into this chaos, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. We have to start with the bombshell news that just dropped regarding the secondary. While everyone is obsessing over the draft, the front office just made a sneaky veteran move that proves they are terrified of the depth issues that plagued them last year. They've officially inked former Houston defensive back Myles Bryant to a deal. Now, look, Bryant isn't coming in to be your lockdown CB1. If he's starting every snap against the elite wideouts of the AFC North, we are in a world of trouble. But that isn't the plan. Bryant is the ultimate Swiss Army knife for a defensive coordinator. Last season in Houston, he was asked to step up and start 3 games, but his real value is his versatility. The guy can slide into the nickel spot, he can retreat to free safety in a pinch, and most importantly, he's a demon on special teams. Cleveland's secondary has been a walking injury report for 2 seasons straight, and bringing in a guy who can play 3 different positions at a professional level is a masterclass in roster stabilization. It's a depth piece, plain and simple, but it's the kind of move that wins you a rainy game in December when your starters are in the medical tent. But let's get to the real meat of the conversation because the rumors surrounding Ohio State superstar Carnell Tate have reached a fever pitch. I have never seen a draft prospect have a wider range of projections than Tate does right now. It is absolute insanity. On one hand, you have heavy hitters like Daniel Jeremiah claiming that Tate is suddenly in play as high as the number 2 overall pick. Think about that. From a mid-first rounder to potentially the second player off the board. If the Jets or another receiver-needy team jumps that high for him, the Browns' entire draft board gets tossed into the paper shredder. But then, you turn around and hear reports from insiders like Tony Rizzo who are claiming the exact opposite. Rizzo is hearing that Tate could actually slide entirely out of the top 10. How is it possible for one player to be viewed as a top 2 cornerstone by one group and a wait-and-see prospect by another? Todd McShed added more fuel to the fire, suggesting that Tate and his teammate Sonny Styles could both be top 5 selections. Then you have Matt Miller from ESPN setting the over-under at 6.5 if the line is 6.5, that puts the Cleveland Browns right in the crosshairs at pick 6. The local beat reporters are starting to lean heavily into the idea that if the Browns stay put at number 6, and Carnell Tate is on the board, the card is getting turned in immediately. No hesitation. No second guessing. But here's the problem, what if the top 2 rumors are true? What if the board falls in a way where the elite talent is gone and the Browns are left staring at a reach? This brings us to the biggest debate in the city right now. Do you stay at 6 and take the safe stud, or do you execute a massive trade down to stockpile assets? I've really warmed up to the idea of Carnell Tate in a Cleveland uniform. He's got the size, the route running polish, and the reliable hands that this offense desperately needs. He's a pro-ready prospect. You aren't drafting a project, you're drafting a guy who can win one-on-one matchups on 3rd down in week 1. Whether he has the ceiling of a Devontae Adams is up for debate, but his floor is incredibly high. Who is to blame if we pass on a playmaker like this? Drop a name in the comments, who is the one player you would take over Tate at number 6? I want to see who really knows ball. The complexity of this draft isn't just about who the Browns like, it's about the massive gap between expectation and reality. Every year, we see mock drafts that look like works of art, and within 15 minutes of the actual draft starting, they are completely useless. It's like trying to fill out a perfect bracket in March. It's impossible. Cleveland might walk into that war room with a 100% commitment to a wide receiver, only to see a guy like Jordan Tyson or a generational tackle fall into their laps, forcing a total pivot. If Tate is off the board by the time Cleveland picks, the conversation shifts immediately to a trade down. And the rumors about a potential deal with the Dallas Cowboys are starting to get very loud. The proposed scenario involves Cleveland moving out of the top 10 entirely, swapping their current high-value picks for a package that includes multiple first-rounders and mid-round capital. On paper, getting more swings at the plate sounds great. If you move down to the 12 or 15 range, you can still grab a high-end tackle like Monroe Freeling or a secondary receiving option like Mia Lemon. But you have to ask yourself, is the value really there? If you are giving up a top 6 pick, a spot where you are guaranteed an elite, blue-chip dog, you better be getting a king's ransom in return. Some analysts argue that the Browns need to prioritize 2027 draft capital. The logic is that if the current quarterback situation doesn't stabilize, the team needs the flexibility to move up in a future draft to grab the guy. Having extra second or first rounders in 2027 gives GM Andrew Berry the ammo to be aggressive. But can this fan base really wait until 2027? This roster is built to win now. The defense is in its prime, the offensive line is veteran heavy, and the window is open. Trading away a chance at a superstar today for a maybe tomorrow is a massive gamble that could result in a total disaster if the picks don't pan out. Speaking of the veteran core, we have to talk about the heartbreaking updates regarding the locker room leaders. It's looking more and more like the Martin Emerson Jr. era in Cleveland is coming to an end. The front office has been vocal about wanting him back selfishly, but the reality is that Emerson wants to start. With the current configuration of the secondary, he just doesn't have a clear path to that role here. Reports are already circulating that he's visiting with the Texans. Seeing a homegrown talent walk away after a tough injury season is a bitter pill to swallow, but it's the cold reality of the NFL salary cap and player ambition. Then there is the silence surrounding Joel Bitonio. The team is reportedly operating as if he won't be back. You can't blame them for being prepared. The offensive line is the heartbeat of this team, and you can't leave its future to chance. If Bitonio isn't at that guard spot, the domino effect is huge. Here is how I see the trenches shaking out if the veterans depart. You likely move Elton Jenkins to left guard, where he was a Pro Bowler. You slide Zion Johnson back to the right side, which is his natural fit. But that leaves a massive, gaping hole at center and left tackle. You cannot go into a season with a patchwork interior. I'm looking at guys like Jake Slaughter out of Florida or Logan Jones from Iowa. These are the dirtbags you need in the middle of the line to establish a run game. And don't even get me started on the tackle position. Whether they stay at 6 or trade down, they are leaving this draft with a left tackle. They've been meeting with everyone, Marquil Bell and several other secret prospects that haven't even hit the news cycle yet. The strategy is clear: protect the blind side at all costs. This offseason is a high-stakes game of poker. Do you bet it all on a flashy receiver like Carnell Tate who could be a superstar? Or do you play the long game, trade down, and hope the extra bodies can fill the holes left by departing veterans? The war room is going to be a pressure cooker on draft night. But wait until you hear what the scouts are saying about the depth of this wide receiver class. They think you can find a WR1 in the 3rd round. If that's true, why would you ever stay at 6? The rumors are only going to get crazier from here. I'm ending the show with this: if the Cowboys call and offer a haul for that number 6 pick, are you taking it? Type a 4 accept or D4 decline in the comments right now. I want to see where the dog pound stands on this. Stay locked in, because this draft is going to be absolute madness.